Here is a detailed interpretation of the book, The Last President, by Ingersoll Lockwood in English. Political allegory and warning. Lockwood's work can be viewed as an allegory for political instability and the rise of populism, illustrating the power and perils of mass movements. The novel serves as a warning about the dangers of leaders who harness the emotions of the masses to rise to power. These types of leaders are often depicted as saviors, promising solutions to the people's problems without fully considering the long-term consequences of their actions. The duality of hope and fear. The president in the book symbolizes the duality of hope and fear that accompanies significant political changes. While some view him as a redeemer and a bringer of much-needed reform, others see him as a threat to the established order and stability. This ambivalence reflects real-world politics, where unconventional political figures ride a wave of hope but can quickly become a source of division and anxiety when their decisions lead to uncertainty or chaos. Social tensions and their consequences. A major theme in the novel is the deep social divides fueled by poverty and inequality. Lockwood illustrates how tensions can simmer beneath the surface of an ostensibly stable society, needing only a spark to ignite widespread upheaval. This depiction underscores the notion that political unrest is not born in isolation but is the culmination of long-standing grievances that have been ignored or inadequately addressed by political leaders. Comparisons with dystopian works. The Last President shares traits with dystopian classics like George Orwell's 1984 and Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. While Orwell's work highlights the control and suppression by an authoritarian government and Huxley's novel focuses on the loss of personal freedom through indulgent control, Lockwood portrays the impact of uncertainty and panic on a democracy's stability. He illustrates a type of chaos not driven by an all-powerful state but by the division and desperation of the people. Relevance to modern times. A contemporary interpretation might focus on the similarities between the fictional president and real-life political figures known for their unconventional rhetoric and ability to mobilize the masses. The book raises questions about the power given to voters and public opinion when radical leaders take the stage. This discussion on the interplay between leaders and their followers and the impact on the stability of democracy remains pertinent today. Symbolic significance of the election. The election of a radical president can be interpreted as a symbol of a society's turning point. It represents not only a political choice but also a deeper cultural and social upheaval. This metaphor applies to how societies on the brink of change often crave radical solutions while overlooking the associated risks. To explore these interpretations further, let's delve deeper into specific aspects. Modern parallels to political movements. One of the most compelling ways to interpret The Last President is to draw parallels with modern populist movements and leaders. The book's portrayal of an unexpected, controversial election victory resonates with recent global political trends where candidates, often perceived as outsiders, harness public discontent to achieve power. These figures typically use strong, emotive rhetoric to promise sweeping changes and challenge established political norms, much like the president depicted in Lockwood's narrative. This comparison emphasizes how economic inequality, political disillusionment, and social fragmentation can fuel such shifts in political landscapes. The role of media and propaganda. The novel subtly hints at the power of communication and public sentiment in shaping political outcomes. Although Lockwood's work predates modern media, the themes can be extended to examine the role of contemporary media in politics. Today, social media platforms, news outlets, and digital propaganda play a significant role in influencing public opinion and amplifying voices that resonate with mass sentiment. The president's rise in The Last President can thus be interpreted as a precursor to how modern politicians use technology and media to spread their messages and galvanize support. Leadership in times of crisis. Lockwood's president symbolizes the type of leadership that emerges in times of widespread societal discontent. This leadership style often promises immediate answers and stark departures from tradition, appealing to those who feel disenfranchised by existing systems. However, such leaders often face significant challenges in uniting a divided populace once in power. This interpretation aligns with the challenges faced by real-life leaders who rise to prominence through unconventional means but struggle with governance that satisfies a broad range of interests. The fragility of democracy. An essential theme in The Last President is the fragility of democratic systems when subjected to extreme stress. The book illustrates how quickly democratic norms can unravel when public trust erodes and division becomes the norm. This serves as a reminder that democratic structures rely on a shared commitment to certain values and norms, and when these are undermined by internal or external forces, chaos can follow. This aspect of the story mirrors current global concerns about the resilience of democracies in the face of political polarization and misinformation. The emotional appeal of populist leaders. The president's character in the book embodies the emotional and visceral appeal of populist leaders. He taps into the public's fears, hopes, and frustrations, providing simple answers to complex problems. This portrayal invites readers to reflect on why certain leaders capture the public's imagination and how emotional appeals can sometimes override rational decision-making. This exploration encourages readers to consider the long-term implications of choosing leaders based on charisma and rhetoric, rather than experience and a proven commitment to democratic principles. Lessons for Contemporary Society. Lockwood's novel invites readers to think critically about the dynamics that lead to political upheavals. It suggests that solutions to societal problems must address the underlying causes of discontent, such as inequality and political disempowerment, rather than focusing solely on surface-level fixes or charismatic figures. The book is a call to action for societies to recognize the signs of deep-seated frustration and to work toward reforms that prevent such extreme outcomes. To connect the themes of The Last President with specific political events and recent leaders, we can explore how the novel's themes reflect real-world scenarios. Populist leaders in modern politics. In recent decades, political figures such as Donald Trump in the United States, Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil, and Viktor Orban in Hungary exemplify leaders who share traits with Lockwood's president. Each of these leaders rose to prominence by positioning themselves as outsiders challenging the political status quo. Their campaigns leveraged public dissatisfaction with traditional political elites and addressed economic and social anxieties through direct and forceful rhetoric. The president in The Last President captures this archetype, a leader who appeals directly to the masses by promising to disrupt established norms and bring change. These leaders often used social media and other forms of communication to bypass traditional media channels, directly reaching supporters and shaping public discourse. This mirrors the novel's depiction of the power of influence and the rapid mobilization of public sentiment. Political polarization and division. The social upheaval described in The Last President can be seen in events like the protests and civil unrest that have occurred globally due to political and economic disparities. For example, the United States has experienced significant political polarization, particularly during and after the 2016 presidential election. The January 6 Capitol riot in 2021 is a striking real-world event that reflects the type of civil unrest depicted by Lockwood. It demonstrated how deep political divisions and emotionally charged rhetoric could lead to violence and a direct challenge to democratic institutions. In Europe, similar patterns can be seen with Brexit and the significant shifts in public sentiment around nationalist movements. The deep societal rifts created by such movements show how democratic structures can be stressed when different groups within a society view national identity, governance, and priorities through vastly different lenses. Use of media and technology. Lockwood's foresight about public sentiment being shaped by communication methods can be interpreted through the lens of modern technology. Leaders today harness platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube to communicate directly with their base and amplify their messages, often bypassing or undermining traditional media. This method of communication plays into the emotional appeals discussed in Lockwood's work, enabling leaders to forge a personal connection with their supporters and fuel their rise to power. The use of targeted ads and digital campaigns has also demonstrated how public perception can be influenced on a massive scale, which was notably seen during the 2016 US election and in the Cambridge Analytica scandal. This illustrates how the themes of manipulation and the sway of mass sentiment in The Last President align with real-life strategies employed in contemporary politics. The fragility of democratic norms. Lockwood's work warns of the vulnerability of democratic systems under extreme stress, a theme echoed in the rise of illiberal democracies. In countries such as Turkey under Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Russia under Vladimir Putin, the erosion of democratic norms has been marked by consolidating power, stifling dissent, and undermining democratic institutions. These examples demonstrate how democracies can degrade when leaders, bolstered by strong public support and emotional appeals, prioritize their power over democratic principles. Lessons for civil society. The real-world application of Lockwood's cautionary tale suggests that a healthy democracy relies not only on the mechanisms of government, but on the active engagement and critical thinking of its citizens. Events like the Arab Spring highlight the power of the people to demand change, but they also show the unpredictable aftermath when initial victories lead to new challenges and, sometimes, further instability. Lockwood's work reminds us that while it's tempting to support charismatic leaders who promise rapid change, the societal cost can be high if that change lacks a vision grounded in democratic values and long-term stability. The lesson for contemporary society is to engage in informed discourse, hold leaders accountable, and recognize the importance of political structures that ensure representation and fairness. Exploring the impact of these interpretations on civic education and strategies to safeguard democratic systems provides a comprehensive view of how society can respond proactively to the themes in The Last President. Here's a breakdown. Impact on civic education, critical thinking and media literacy. One of the primary lessons from the themes in The Last President is the importance of equipping citizens with the ability to critically analyze political rhetoric and media content. Modern educational programs should include robust media literacy components that teach individuals to discern reliable information, recognize bias, and understand the role of propaganda in shaping public opinion. This is particularly crucial in an era where social media can amplify misinformation rapidly. Understanding the democratic process, civic education should emphasize the workings of democratic institutions, the importance of checks and balances, and how power is distributed and regulated. The novel's depiction of a leader who disrupts norms highlights the risk of concentrating too much power in the hands of one person or group. Educating the public on how laws and institutions work can foster an informed electorate that holds leaders accountable and values democratic norms. The role of active citizenship. Civic education programs should inspire citizens to actively participate in their democracies, not just during elections but through community engagement and public discourse. The novel underscores that passive citizenry can lead to dramatic shifts when discontent grows unchecked. Encouraging active participation helps ensure that government actions align with the people's needs and aspirations. Strategies to safeguard democratic systems. Strengthening institutions. One of the significant takeaways from Lockwood's work is the fragility of democracy when institutions are weak or undermined. Governments must prioritize the protection and autonomy of key institutions, such as the judiciary, free press, and electoral bodies, to safeguard against potential abuses of power. Legislative measures that ensure transparency and accountability in governance can mitigate the risk of autocratic leadership. Balancing populist movements. Populism often arises when people feel their voices are not being heard. A proactive strategy involves addressing the root causes of discontent, such as economic inequality and political exclusion, through policies that promote social equity and representation. When these issues are effectively managed, the appeal of radical solutions offered by populist leaders can be diminished. Promoting inclusive dialogue. Societies must encourage open and inclusive dialogue that bridges divides across political and social spectrums. The unrest depicted in The Last President illustrates how divisions can lead to significant turmoil. Initiatives that foster understanding between different societal groups, through community programs, cross-partisan discussions, and collaborative policy making, can reduce polarization and strengthen democratic resilience. Safeguarding electoral integrity. Ensuring the integrity of elections through transparent processes, secure voting technologies, and combating disinformation is essential. The novel's focus on a controversial election points to the need for robust mechanisms that maintain public trust in the electoral process. Election monitoring, independent oversight, and public education on voting rights can help maintain the legitimacy of democratic outcomes. Empowering watchdog organizations. Non-governmental organizations and independent watchdogs play a crucial role in maintaining democratic norms by holding leaders accountable. These organizations can provide checks on power by reporting abuses, advocating for rights, and informing the public about governmental actions. Support for such entities can come through funding, legal protection, and public endorsement of their work. Historical parallels and insights. The Weimar Republic. Germany's Weimar Republic is an instructive historical example. The democratic government fell due to a combination of economic hardships, political fragmentation, and the rise of populist figures who capitalized on public discontent. It shows that even a democratic system with constitutional protections can falter if it does not address societal grievances effectively. Post-colonial democracies. In several post-colonial states, young democracies have faced challenges maintaining stability due to leaders who concentrate power. The struggles of maintaining a balance between leadership and democratic practices reflect the tensions illustrated in The Last President, where strong leaders with popular support push boundaries that endanger democratic norms. Conclusion. Civic education and active strategies to bolster democratic practices are essential in recognizing and addressing the signs of societal and political unrest that Lockwood highlights. By fostering informed, engaged citizens and protecting the integrity of institutions, societies can create a robust defense against the allure of divisive, charismatic leadership that risks eroding democracy. Engaging in continuous dialogue and emphasizing shared democratic values ensures that even during periods of crisis, the foundational principles of democracy remain protected.